The man is coming. And you have to adjust accordingly.
What's that?
Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A.
Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. Chin up, head up. Whoop-de-doo. Chin up, head up. Whoop-de-doo.
And straight like that, we back, man. Hope everybody doing well, doing swell out there in TV land, TV world, what have you. As for me, I cannot complain, me, myself, and I. You dig what I'm saying? As always, if you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe to the content, give me an algorithm, and I will go accordingly. As I always say now. You saw that little roll in, man. That was the one everyone knows, Stephen A. Smith. One of the most unliked individuals, man. Like, Stephen A. is, I guess you would call a shock jock. Along the lines of, let's say, a Howard Stern type of character. You dig what I'm saying? But he happens to be on mainstream television. ESPN, to be exact. Now, you say what you will about ESPN. There's been a lot of turnover around them parts in the last handful of years. Stephen A. seems to have, been able to tread water. You dig what I'm saying? To keep his position. But if you know who Stephen A. is and if you keep up with him, it's not hard to understand how a guy like him keeps his position. You dig what I'm saying? He's not ashamed to tell you how he keeps his position. Yeah, that's indicative of who Stephen A. Smith is. Stephen says he goes to work, he wakes up every day and wonders how to make his bosses more money, and he just wants a piece of it. Well, when you unpack that a little more, you have to say, well, now, that immediately describes what is known as a yes man, company man. You dig what I'm saying?
Listen up, Jigaboo. State of Mississippi ain't interested in your meteorological assessments.
You tell him the state of Mississippi is only interested in getting this here ditch cleared by sundown.
State of Mississippi want this here ditch cleared by sundown. You got that, boy.
The type of cat that will do and say anything in order to please his boss. You know what I'm saying? Now, we don't know exactly who is the boss over there at ESPN. Perhaps we'll use Grok. Let's see who is the head of ESPN. Tell us, Grok, who is the head of ESPN?
James Patero. He's been chairman since 2023, overseeing everything from live games to ESPN+.
All right, James Patero. James Patero does not sound to be a black man. I'm almost sure, almost positive that he is not. I won't even look his picture up. I'm sure he's not. Now, I don't know what political affiliation Mr. Patero may reside in. I don't know anything about the man. But I do know that in the general boss world, the general people that are bosses wouldn't usually agree with the type of stances that a person coming from the demographic that Stephen A. Smith comes from agrees with. You dig what I'm saying? They tend to be on the opposite side of the spectrum. And so now when you look at what we got going on in the country these days, man, in order to try and quell the discontent of the masses, you need people to go out and be apologists. You need people that look like the affected demographic to take a stance of everything being all good. You're just panicking, being a panicking.
Don't be weak, don't be stupid, don't be a panicking. That's what the White House says. What's a panicking? Trump says it's a new party based on weak and stupid people.
You dig what I'm saying? And so Stephen A. Smith, for the last year or so, has availed himself to be one of those individuals, despite trying to claim or not answering questions about how he leans. If you follow him and see the things he says out here in the news, you start to get a better idea of what is really going on with him. Now, I know a while back he made an attempt at saying he would seriously consider running for the president of the United States, and I really wish he would. I really wish Stephen A. would put his hand in the pot because I think that would be a perfect opportunity for the world at large, or the United States at large, to show Stephen A. just how unpopular he really is. You dig what I'm saying? So, by all means, Mr. Stephen A., put your hand in the pot, and maybe that'll be enough to get your ass out of here once you see everybody really hate your lame man. So, going along with that line of thinking, that line of speaking, what I was just talking about, we're going to look at a couple of instances of Stephen A. Smith over the past couple of months, and maybe just like the last month or so. He's always got a hot soundbite. Mr. 1.5 point shot. You dig what I'm saying? And so we're going to unpack a couple of videos, man, and just explain a little more of the lore of one Stephen A. Smith. And we're going to start with some particular remarks he had to say about a prior presidential candidate.
I believe Kamala Harris's political career is over. I think you've seen the last of her with this book, politically. I'm quite sure she's a highly intelligent woman, very accomplished. She's a former state attorney general. She's a former senator. She's a former vice president of the United States, and obviously the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States in 2024. But this was the last straw, and I'm going to tell you why. Because although I'm certainly not an advocate of her diming out her boss and talking about whatever deficiencies he may have had, you could have said something. You could have done something other than what you did. And I don't want to hear about 107 days, and that's all you had. You know what 107 days gave you? It gave you the opportunity to take over the campaign and do it your way, instead of capitulating to what his people wanted you to do, and you doing whatever you thought was necessary under the realm or the guise of loyalty, and costing, and in some people's eyes, costing yourself the presidency. There are things that she could have done that was more effective.
Allow me to jump in right here real quick. I'll preface my statements by saying, I, Jack Travis of Straight Like That, voted for the black lady, and I would again vote for the black lady. That being Kamala Harris. You dig what I'm saying? Now, some people may want to jump off the bridge about that, and you only voted because she was a black lady. Some people say she's not black. I agree that she's a black lady. That's my stance. And it's not just based off the color of her skin. It's based off of, you hear Stephen A. say, well, hell, you didn't have any changes to Joe Biden's program? Well, when you look at the two programs in contrast, the one from the red side, the one from the blue side, as we stand here today, there's no way your common sense could not lead you to the conclusion that a Kamala Harris presidential policy plan to not change many things, if anything, from the Joe Biden administration is 100 million miles better than what we have in our current administration. And the things that were changed wholesale. But you get this half chud. I can't stand this dude, bro. I believe her political career. Nigga, nobody asked you. Maybe CNN got you on there to make a fool of yourself. I'm not even understanding what CNN's angle was in bringing Stephen A. on to offer his opinion on this subject. But he talks as if he's some seasoned political observer. He thinks her career is over because she didn't change anything. And I just made the point that had she won the presidency and not changed a goddamn thing from the Biden presidency, the entire America would not be complaining right now. You dig what I'm saying? And he knows this in retrospect. This is just recently. Based off of what she wrote in her book, he comes out with this just vitriolic take about her career being over. He has not had one vitriolic take about what Donald Trump is doing in the White House right now. And then Dan Bongino and the Pete Hegseth and Robert F. Kennedy. He's had nothing. Stephen A. is a absolute curmudgeon, bro. Like, I have been waiting for my page to get in a particular realm so that I won't have to be subject to the petty grievances, let's call it, of some of these people I cover, because this YouTube world is really petty, bro. A lot of these dudes have nothing else to look forward to, so they relish in the idea of throwing you off track and reporting you for bullying them. You dig what I'm saying? But I feel as though I'm at a place now to where people like Stephen A can get every bit of the smoke that I can offer. Let's continue.
Don't get me started with her appearance on The View. Don't get me started with when Sonny Houston looked at her and said, is there anything that you would do differently than Joe Biden? And I can't think of anything. Nobody wants to hear that. When the country was in the state that it was in, and we knew that change was the order of the day, and you had a candidate that was not only using her rhetoric, her verbiage, and the lack thereof from him, but also was accusing her as hiding and engaging in his own definition of machismo or misogynism or whatever you want to call it, to point out how he was a man's man and he goes everywhere and he talks to everyone, while she was not willing to do that initially. And then you come out with a book in the aftermath of it all, and you've talked about Pete Buttigieg and, you know, him being gay, or you talked about Josh Shapiro, the governor that I just interviewed the other day, and you talked about him being too eager for the vice presidency when he was clearly a better choice than Tim Walz, or you want to talk about Gavin Newsom now, but you wouldn't do it before.
Again, allow me to jump in. You hear him talking there about the candidates that Kamala Harris was sifting through in order to choose a vice president. Running mate, you dig what I'm saying? Pete Buttigieg, he says she wrote in her book, and I hadn't read the book, she wrote in her book about him being a gay man and whether or not America was ready for a black woman and a gay man. I think you see from the outcome of the election and the rhetoric that you hear around here, she was spot on with that take. Then you move on to a Josh Shapiro, a guy that he's interviewed, as if that makes him a better opponent because he interviewed him. I guess Stephen A is giving him the sign off. But he said that Kamala Harris said that he was too eager to attain the VP position. And, you know, ambitious people, man, are often some of the ones you need to watch even more closely than your enemy. So I can't be mad at her take on that. He brought up Gavin Newsom. I don't know exactly what he's saying she said about Gavin Newsom, but she ultimately did not pick him. Now, Stephen A would suggest as though he knows more about the political process and these candidates and their viability and compatibility with the positions that they attain to achieve. If you let Stephen A tell it. But again, Stephen A is just talking out of his ass because he thinks he's smart because he's got a $100 million contract, in which that's a lot of money, but that does not make you smart. He said something about Kamala Harris and her ideas on what she was going to change, like in the first clip. And he said, no one wants to hear that. Everyone saw the state of the country and the change that was needed. Do you know the change that they were hollering about? The things that she wasn't planning on changing? You know, things like these transgender laws against them being married and keeping Medicaid going and, you know, keeping the budget down. These are the things that she was not planning on changing. I promise you, bro, some guy that had the bright idea, or whatever you call it, to become a female, and then wanted to also continue to participate in sports, I can guarantee you those cases are of such a small, minuscule amount that those are not the issues of the day in the United States of America. The people that claim they are absolute numbnut dimwits. Those things do not matter. Those things are not decaying society. Those things are not allowing society to not move forward. Those things aren't even beneficial. They're non-starters. They're whatever. There's some decisions that individual people chose to make for whatever reasons in their brain, in their heart, in their environment, what have you. You dig what I'm saying? And if you look around at the people that it is, it's like, well, goddamn. Seem like you need to clean up your own house, but you know, that's a hard thing for them to do. But every point that Stephen A is bringing up right here is just complete bullshit, man.
Nobody's trying to hear that now. That is a candidate that's on her way out the door, and I'm not saying I wish it, I've had the pleasure of meeting her once before. She is a very nice person, very accomplished. I respect her. But when I look at the excerpts from this book, it's too little, too late. And that's what this comes down to. As far as I am concerned, I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, but I believe her political career is over. The minute people buy them and read it with the stuff that she could have said and the stuff that she could have done, but refrained from doing, which obviously contributed to her losing the election. It's too little, too late. Are you in it to win it or not? She wasn't. And that is that.
So many things to unpack from what Stephen A. just said. He is such a curmudgeon house tomcat dude, bro. You dig what I'm saying? I would say in addressing Kamala Harris and her campaign, let's get the cons out of the way first. The things that I will agree with people when they say they had a problem with it. At the Democratic National Convention, she brought out some performers on stage. Now, I don't have a problem with all of them, but if I had to say the one that was a really sketchy look that may have put a unserious sheen on everything she had going on was the Megan Thee Stallion deal. Now, Megan Thee Stallion on stage in support of your campaign isn't inherently a bad thing. But when you have a Megan Thee Stallion that only has two settings, rap and twerk, it becomes a problem. When you have a brain that tells you or doesn't tell you, however way you want to look at it. When you have a brain that allows you that to on the stage at the Democratic National Convention, in which we're trying to make our candidate for the president of the United States, of the leader of the free world. You dig what I'm saying? When we're trying to make that candidate look viable and serious, your brain has got to tell you not to turn your ass around and throw it in a circle. Your brain just got to tell you that. You dig what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at with it. Outside of that, I don't know that I could poke any holes in what she had going on. A lot of people swear that when she got on camera, she couldn't talk. But if you watched enough interviews and you looked around enough, you would see that was a bald-faced lie. That lady has previous certifications, classifications, you dig what I'm saying? All of that. She's been through it, been prosecuted, lawyer, all this, that, and the third, man. They didn't just go and pick off the strip somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Now, in terms of running the campaign the way that she wants to, that's a complex deal, bro. We're not just talking about, stepping into management at your local 7-Eleven and changing up where you put the Cheetos as opposed to where you put the Funyuns. You dig what I'm saying? So you just can't go in there and just change up the whole process. Hey, you out, I'm doing it this way. She was the vice president, bro. She can't just step in and just it's not like she was the president. She was just a nominee. So to try and beat her up for all of these full wholesale changes that didn't occur and just bring in her whole, it's not like baseball or sports like what he's used to calling. When a coach gets fired, you bring in a new coach and a new GM, and that coach gets to bring in his buddies and his coaches and fire. It's not how this works, man. This is politics. It's a very complex thing. So trying to attribute everything about the campaign and how it was run on her is just, it's just scapegoat shit, bro. It's just like, it's right-wing talking points. For somebody like Stephen A. to let them come out of his mouth, bro, it's just like, it's egregious. You dig what I'm saying? But, Stephen A., that's what he does, man. And so, as we started going down the line a little more, we've had some other happenings out here in the world, and Stephen A. chose to, voice his opinion on these things. Now, we know what happened to Charlie Kirk. You dig what I'm saying? In the fallout of Charlie Kirk, people grieved differently. Let's say it that way, and one, Jimmy Kimmel, he didn't grieve. He just he highlighted or just went over some of the facts of the case, or just some things that had went on and been said around the case, around the assassination, and He was originally suspended from his position for the Jimmy Kimmel Late Night Show. He's since been reinstated, and I understand that his ratings went out the roof. But before he was put back on, when everybody thought that they had a point and they were right and they got what they wanted, and people from the left getting canceled, this is what Stephen A. had to say.
The only thing that I would say as it pertains to Jimmy Kimmel was, where was the joke? Because you're a late night host, and obviously that has a comedic attachment to it. Where was the joke? Obviously, it wasn't anything funny about that.
Well, some people thought that it, not maybe that it was funny, but they thought it was spot on, because what Jimmy Kimmel did was go on stage and said that the past week, people on the right, Maka, have been salivating, chomping at the bit even, to make this shooter, a one Tyler Robinson, to make him someone on the left, someone radicalized, anything other than a white guy from a conservative family that just got fed up with the rhetoric coming from his side, a one Charlie Kirk in particular. You know what I mean? Anything to keep from owning up to that fact, because in their mind, they can't be wrong. If one of their kind does something wrong, it's got to be because his mind was bastardized and he was just low IQ and susceptible to the bullshit. Never that he had salient thoughts and he thought that what he was hearing and seeing from his side was bad and needed to be stopped. It could never be that. Although if you go back to last month, we had 3, 4, 5 mass shootings, and you'll notice something about every one of them. You dig what I'm saying? But you hear Stephen A. there. What was the joke? It wasn't funny. And I thought we had this thing called free speech in America. There's been people fighting hard fights and writing long letters and introducing bills, all type of fuckery, in order to protect your right to be able to say whatever you want to. You dig what I'm saying? But we see certain situations come across out here, and miraculously, it's like it's a bad thing now. And apparently, a one Stephen A. Smith is in support of it, because in his estimation, if the joke isn't funny, you deserve to be fired about it, or what have you. You know what I mean? Now, there was an interesting a clip from a one Mr. Stephen A. Here a couple weeks ago, and it took my boy Van Lathan to kind of lay this out, and I'll bring some thoughts more about it after they're done.
The man is coming. And you have to adjust accordingly.
Don't listen to that. Don't listen to none of that. I want you to think of anybody ever that you've respected. Think about Tubman, King, Chisholm, Baldwin, X, Evers, Baker, Rustin, whoever it is. Think about the people that you've respected and the way they reacted to the American political reality. They never acted accordingly. They acted how they had to. What they were able to do was analyze the moment that they were in and then meet that moment. Analyze the danger. Analyze the precarious situation that they're in and then meet it and put something on the line. Acting accordingly in the situation can only be interpreted as don't talk too loud, massa is mad. Do not listen to that. I'm not going to get into making pejoratives about people, insulting people. I'm telling you right now that if you do, as prescribed by Stephen A. Smith in that statement, what you are giving way to is a new and reinforced way of life. What you are saying is that it is okay. You're saying that everything that could happen to you because one person or one group or one wing of this is mad or upset or ready to rumble, you're saying you won't fight. You're saying that the better thing than fighting it is to acquiesce to it, because if you lay real still, it'll be over soon.
Stephen A. said the man is coming, so you need to act accordingly. Shut up and take it. Let them do what they do till the storm breezes over. You heard Van Lathan quote a figure out here that would have no part of that type of thinking, that type of talking. You know, Malcolm X was, I always say, if I was alive back in them days, I would have been a staunch follower of one Malcolm X. I might have did some crazy shit out in the world. You dig what I'm saying? Because I was all about what them boys was talking about. You dig what I'm saying? And so Van Lathan hit it right on the head. You know, when I look at Martin Luther King, man, and that singing, that silent approach, the marching approach, it you know, without saying anything sideways about the homie Martin Luther King, I just didn't agree with that approach. I didn't see how, especially as turned up as the other side was right then, it seemed like that would just only do more to embolden them into feeling as though they're correcting their assumptions about their place in the world. So I looked at that and I'm just like, man, you had to be a strong muff to be out there marching and getting hit with hoses and dogs and all that, and ain't turned up on something. Like, I feel like they just had to take me up out of there, cuz. You dig what I'm saying? Cuz ain't no goddamn way.
Up for the room. Let them shoot me. I don't give a fuck. They'll take me out singing that motherfucker.
So, you know, but nonetheless, you know, the shit that comes out of Stephen A's mouth, man, is obviously bought and paid for because, again, he wakes up every morning and thinks of a way to make his bosses more money. And if his bosses can get more money by having a black man go out there and say vitriolic things about people in his community and big figures in his community, then they have a lapdog to go out and do it. You dig what I'm saying? Now, I spoke on ESPN and the turnover that they've been having there for the last couple of years, and quite honestly, unless it's a sporting event on ESPN, I don't watch ESPN. I don't know the last time I've watched First Take, and I won't watch it anytime soon. You know what I mean? A lot of sports figures, a lot of announcers, a lot of commentators, a lot of hosts are doing the flip-flop around out here these days. ESPN wanted to cut their payroll, so they let it go. A lot of talent that we were used to seeing the last couple of years. But again, Stephen A. secured him apparently a $100 million contract to remain as the host of First Take. Him, Molly Qerim, and they had Shannon Sharp. Shannon ran into his troubles. He's off the show. It's been like a rotating door, Mad Dog, and Swagoo, and all type of little Dan Orlovsky, what have you. Cam Newton's here lately. Rotating door of people filling in for him. I think Gilbert Arenas gave himself a shot at that. I hadn't seen Gil here lately, man. I think that little case took a hit. I think Gil's arena is no more. It's the arena now, him and Skip Bayless, but it didn't look like that's a shitty show, so I don't know what's up with that. But that was just one of the other people that tried to attain that position. I spoke on Molly. Molly may see the writing on the wall, because I've got to know that the ratings over there at First Take, and which I may grok them, and they're doing well, but, you know, just from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like anyone respects Stephen A. enough to give him a watch. At least a good faith watch. It may be like a hate watch, but we got some news from Molly Qerim all of a sudden out the blue here about a week ago, which may indicate what we may be thinking about Stephen A. and his hot or cold takes, however you want to put them, and the effect that it's having on the viewing audience over there at ESPN and First Take in particular.
Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement. Molly is a friend. Molly is a coworker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, rather, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately, as you see from her Instagram post.
Yeah, and so there, Molly Qerim abruptly left the show as the host or the co-host, the middle host, or whatever you want to call it, First Take with Stephen A. Smith. Now, he says that the details of her parting ways with the show are quite frankly none of our business. He said that there was some contract negotiations going on at some point, alluding to maybe that's why she left. She wasn't getting paid enough money, but I don't know that Molly Karen was in a position to demand any more high top dollars. She didn't really say much on the show. When she did try to say something, most of the time they would just kind of steamroll on past her. But I don't think that was the case. I would venture to say that Molly probably hates Stephen A's guts here lately. He's been on the wrong side of everything. I would imagine that those ratings don't look too hot, don't look too great, and that this show is going in a downward direction. They're struggling for a host. He put Cam Wild clothes wearing ass on there. I don't know how that's worked out. I heard a couple of takes from him, and they were just pretty much, I don't know, just clickbaity, you know what I'm saying? Trying to make a name for himself. So she may see the writing on the wall, man, and she took her bag and ran on home before Stephen A. thoroughly embarrasses himself and everybody else associated with that show, because he is not afraid to open his mouth and say some of the stupidest shit that you have ever heard. Now, Miss Molly released a statement. Let's read her statement. Let's see what went on. Now that the news came out earlier than I intended, and not in the way I hoped, to my First Take family, after much reflection, I've decided it's time to close this incredible chapter and step away from First Take. Hosting this show has been one of the greatest honors of my career. Every morning I had the privilege of sharing the desk with some of the most brilliant, passionate, and entertaining voices in sports, and with all of you, the best fans in the world. I'm so grateful for what this journey has given me, lifelong friendships, unforgettable memories, and the chance to be part of something truly special. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for welcoming me into your homes. Stay tuned. With love and gratitude, Molly. I will say, if any time I turned into First Take, it'll be to get a glance at old Molly Kieran. Molly was a nice, set-up young lady. So it's unfortunate that we won't be able to see her anymore. But again, I think that she may see the writing on the wall, man, and she's working with an absolute curmudgeon that will do anything for a buck, bro. I would not be surprised that in a couple of years, if Stephen A. isn't one of like the top right-wing grifters, but he only got about 3 more years while DJT is in there. So, but it looked like he already got the ball rolling on it. But as much lame shit comes out of his mouth, the more great videos I will bring to you all. So hey, keep doing what you're doing, Stephen A. Keep being the curmudgeon tomfoolery provider that you are, sir, and I will keep you all updated. And until then, it's been straight like that. I'm out.